Alright, in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up Cisco privilege levels. So I'm your host, CCNP Seth, and let's get into it. So how to set and restrict users with certain privileges? Well, the things that you have to do is you have to create the user and give it a certain privilege level. Then you create the admin user and make that have the privilege level of 15. 15 means unrestricted access, just like you wouldn't set any privileges at all. So when you do enable, you're actually enabling privilege level 15 by default. But if you want to have a certain user that doesn't have full admin rights, then you can restrict them, and you do it with setting the privileges, and I'm going to take you how to go through that. So let's open up this switch right here. So I have a blank switch. I think it's a 3750. Yeah, it's a 3750 right here. And it is brand spanking new. Well, at least it has a blank config. So if I do a show run, you get to see that nothing's on it. It's all blank. I could do whatever I want. I can go into config T. I could go into interface G101, and I hit question mark, and I have all of these commands. Because when I actually end and I type in enable, I hit question mark, it says, what privilege level do you want to enable? Well, by default, it's actually privilege level 15, which is unrestricted access. But I want to start restricting some commands to some users. Now, the user could have, the user database could be locally on the switch, or you could have it in a Radius or TACAC server. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set local permissions on this switch itself. Okay, so I go and enable privilege exec mode, which I'm already in actually, but go into config T, and let's create a user. So we'll say username, and we'll just say JR admin for junior admin. Okay, question mark, and what we are going to do is we are going to do this right here, privilege. So we're going to set the privilege level, and what do we want to give it? This is where the number actually doesn't matter as long as it's not 15. Anything below 15, you have to set the specific privileges or the specific commands for that privilege level. So just because I give it privilege level 10 doesn't mean I have 5 less commands to do than privilege level 15. You know what I mean? So just give it any number, and then we're going to set the privileges for this level. I'm just going to do 10. And then give it a password. So we'll say password, and we'll just say Cisco 123. Okay. Now let's set up the admin password that has, or the admin user that has privilege level 15, which is unrestricted access. So we'll say user name. We'll do senior admin, privilege level 15 with the password, and we can do the same of Cisco 123. Then we go into the console, because that's actually what what terminal I'm using. Go into line console 0 and say login local. Okay. Now, whenever I log into this switch via the console cable, it's going to say what is your username and password. Okay. But I'm not done. I didn't set any privileges yet. So let's set a privilege for this junior admin. So it's going to start with privilege and then just question mark your way out. Now, the way that you read this is you're saying privilege, and then at this command, I'm going to give you privilege level 10, and then what are the specific commands underneath that level. So if I want my, let's see, how should I do this? You know what? Let me not set any privileges, and let's see what happens. Okay, let me exit out, and let me log in. JR admin, Cisco 123. Okay, if I hit question mark, it looks like it's giving me all my commands. Go into config T. Okay, I can't even go into config T, but if I hit the question mark command, it gives me all of these options. Okay, but I want to go into configure terminal. I want to start messing with some things. And you can see that configure is not there, but all of my exec commands are. Right? So let me, oops, question mark again. Yeah, I don't have any configure terminal. So that means right off the bat, I can't change anything globally on this switch. So let's give this junior admin some interface privileges. So let's log into senior admin, Cisco 123, config T. So we'll do privilege, and we're going to say at the exec level, level 10, and then what are the initial words that we are going to give them privileged access at the exec level or at the privilege exec level. So then I'm going to say I want them to do configure terminal, so I could say config T, and then under config T I want to give them interface level or interface level commands. So I'll say privilege configure level 10, and then question mark again, what are the initial keywords? Well, I want to give them interface access. All right, cool. Hit that. Let me exit out, and let me log in as junior admin. Cisco 123, config T. Config T works, but now let me question mark under config. Notice I don't have many commands. I have the help, I have license, I have netconf, I have sassle, but look at that, I do have interface level commands. So then I could go into interface, hit question mark. This is where if I give interface level access, then I'm giving this junior admin interface level access for every single interface. To my knowledge, I believe you cannot give restriction to a certain interface. If you do know how to do that, let me know in the comments below, but I haven't figured that out yet. Okay, so let's go into gig interface G10/1, hit question mark. Notice I have no commands. I have default. I could set this interface to default settings. That's about it. I can't even make it a switch port. I can't even make it an access port or a trunk or a no switch port or anything like that. So this is where we go back into our senior admin mode and give them privileges for certain commands under the interface mode. Okay, so let's exit senior admin, Cisco 123, config T, privilege. So now that I gave them interface access, I actually need to go into privilege interface, tell it to be level 10, and then what are the keywords? Well, I want them to be able to make it a switch port mode access. Okay, so this is where you would actually probably type in the exact command that you want them to do. So you would say switch port mode access, hit the up arrow, switch port access VLAN, so they could turn a switch port into an access port and give it the proper VLAN. I could also give them the ability to create a VLAN. So I would say privilege configure level 10, and we want them to create a VLAN. That's it. Okay, so now anyone who is part of the privilege level 10 group, they'll be able to go into an interface, make it an access port, create a VLAN, and apply that VLAN to that access port. Okay, notice I did not give them the shutdown command or anything like that. So let me exit out, log in as junior admin, Cisco 123, config T, interface G101, question mark. Look at that, my switch port command is there. Let's do switch port, question mark. Look at those only two commands I have, switch port access and switch port mode. Switch port mode access. Well, let me do question mark. Look at that. I don't even have the ability to make it a trunk because I didn't give level 10 trunk mode access. I just said switch port mode access. Okay. Then I could do switch port access VLAN, and then whatever VLAN I want to make it a part of. VLAN 10. Boom. Look at that. I even have the ability to create a VLAN. If I exit out and do VLAN question mark 20, hit question mark. Since I gave the ability to create a VLAN, I have all the commands underneath the VLAN for it. So I can give it a name and just say vlan. I'll spell it out, 20, just so that'll work. Exit out. Do I have any show commands? Do I have a show vlan brief? Oh, I do have a show vlan brief. Let's see if I have a show run. I do not have the ability to do a show run, if you notice that. If I do show running, yeah, no show run. So I need to give specific access to this user to have the show run. Now, if I do this, it will only show the running config for what I have privileged access for. Okay, so let me do this. Cisco 123 config t privilege. It is an exec command, level 10, and we will do a show run. Okay, and exit jradmin Cisco 123 show run. Bam! Look at that. But take a look at what I have access to in the show running config. Yes, 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 all of that. Look at that. I have just the interfaces, because that's all I have access to. Let me scroll up. I can't see the username. I can't see what spanning tree mode I'm in. I can't see the line console command. So let me exit out and I'll show you what the senior admin sees. So privilege level 15 gets to see everything you would normally see, but the junior admin can't see what usernames are created, can't see the PKI certificates, can't see the spanning tree mode, but it can see the interface. It's because I gave them interface access. And if I go down to the bottom of the config, you'll get to see all the privilege commands that I gave. Okay. So that's how privilege levels work. I can create a whole new privilege level, let's say privilege level 9. It will not inherit privilege level 10 because 10 is higher. But if I create separate commands for privilege level 9, then 10 is going to inherit everything that's in 9. So that's how those privilege levels work. So that's why 15 has everything, because everything below it. So that's how privilege levels work. Yeah, so this is how you could restrict access to your junior admins if you want to do this. Again, I showed you how to do it on the switch locally, but you can allow these privilege levels to reach back to a Radius or TACAX server. So that's it for now. Leave a comment below if you know how to restrict certain interfaces, but I couldn't figure out how to do that. As soon as you give them interface access, then they have access to all interfaces. So, but I hope this was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.